Good evening. I just get the lighting right. There we go. Oh, how's your week been? It's been a strange week in lots of ways in the media, and amongst all the really quite serious things that have been going on, and the desperately sad news coming out of certain parts of the world with the coup in Myanmar and various other things. Our British obsession with the weather has really come to the fore. Everywhere you turn, whether in the physical print media or online, or you get news feeds. If you're a news junkie like me, I get a lot of news feeds. Sooner or later, in very high up in the kind of news agenda, has come the news of the beast from the east too, because we have having a spell of easterly weather, and it's coming in. So it's the beast of the east too, a beast from the east. It made me chuckle listening to a rather irritated weatherman who was being interviewed with one of his colleagues on a daytime TV show this week, when he said basically this: look, we get cold easterly weather systems all the time. They come most years. So even if this one feels a little bit beastly, you can hardly call it the beast from the east too. He's obviously had enough of the kind of the sensationalism around the weather. And I guess living where I live, I suppose I understand that. We live basically at sea level in the southwest, and so whilst we know what snow is, I don't think in the whole of the time that we've lived here, and we've been here now for over 20 years, we've ever seen snow that would have stopped us from going about our daily business. It got me thinking how people often do a similar sort of thing when they start talking about God, and especially when they start talking about our relationship to his life and his holiness. Instead of seeing it as it really is, they want to turn it into something extreme, something mystical, something unusual, something out of the ordinary. And unfortunately, because the Bible wasn't written in English, when we read an English translation, we often come up against this problem. Our translators wanted to take something which is meant to be simple and turn it into something which was deeply difficult to understand, or at least which suggested that there was some secret initiation, some strange and deep theological understanding that was necessary to participate in the life of God. It's not true. We get to see this perhaps at its most extreme in our English translation of 1 Timothy 3:16. Let me read you the verse as it appears in the New King James. And without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifested in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen by angels, preached among the Gentiles, believed on in the world, and received up in glory. When we come out of lockdown, I'm going to need some new glasses. You read it again. Without controversy, great is the mystery of godliness. God was manifested in the flesh, justified in the spirit, seen by angels, preached among the Gentiles, believed on in the world, and received up in glory. If I could summarize what's really there, it would go like this. Look, everybody knows there's a marvelous way of life that we call holiness. And we see it because Jesus came in person, lived it out in front of us so that we might believe in him. That's really what it's talking about. In fact, the word that we translate in this version as mystery, mysterion, really doesn't mean something mysterious at all. In fact, it means the exact opposite. It means something that is known, that relates to a particular pattern of living. When I was growing up, I decided that I wanted to train as a lawyer. So I went off and did a law degree. If I'd wanted to be an engineer, I would have gone off and done an engineering degree. If I'd wanted to be a doctor, I'd have gone off and done a medical degree. If I'd wanted to be a teacher, I'd have gone and specialized in a subject and then learned to teach. But I didn't. I wanted to train as a lawyer. So I went off and I trained as a lawyer. When I finished training as a lawyer, I decided I didn't like that very much. So I retrained as an IT specialist. So I could learn the things that related to my particular skill set. I had the desire to live a particular life, to be engaged in some kind of employment, so I got the necessary training. Since then, I have worked with both lawyers and IT professionals. And what I've discovered is that it's not a skill set that commonly goes together. In fact, apart from one colleague I had who'd been down pretty much the same route that I had, often lawyers know almost nothing about IT, and IT technicians know almost nothing about the law. Why would they? It's not relevant. It's not relevant at all. The person who built my extraordinary PC that I use for all the video work that I do, they didn't need to understand the law of trusts or tort. Why would they? And the lawyer who helps put together the deeds that go with the house that I live in, why would they need to know about how to build a motherboard? The two things are alien to each other. They're separate. It's not that one is of more value than the other, but the nature of a human life is that you specialize. You know about the life that you live. It's not just about obvious tasks either. I don't know about the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis that relate to your desires, your goals, your hopes, your ambitions. And so the word mysterion to the Greeks was literally nothing more complicated than the particular skills and the information required to live a specific life. So if you wanted to be a butcher, you would learn the mysterion of butchery. You'd be apprenticed and you'd gain the skills that were necessary. If you wanted to be a carpenter, you'd learn the mysterion of carpentry, or a silversmith, the mysterion of silversmithing, and so on. Look, everybody agrees. Great is the mysterion. Great, megas in the Greek, just means marvelous, excellent, huge, or preeminent, depending on its context. It can mean a vast number of items, or it can mean something that is just surpassing, more wonderful than something else. Look, everybody knows how marvelous the pattern of a holy life is, because we got to see it in the person of Jesus, who was God living like one of us. That's what 1 Timothy 3:16 actually says. It says, if you want to know how to live like God, just look at Jesus. If you want to know how to be holy, how to be compassionate, how to be merciful, how to love, how to be open-handed, how to care for people, how to please God, because you don't cast people out, you don't alienate people, you don't make people feel as though they're unwelcome, unwanted, or unworthy. Because you comfort those who are brokenhearted, because you try to set at liberty those who are chained up, whether in physical bondage, in the corrupt systems of the world, or emotionally and psychologically in their mental well-being, are struggling and feel caged. You want to know how to be like God? Sit with the outcasts like Jesus. Go where the religious folk don't go. Show mercy. Welcome and delight in the people that you love. without controversy. Great is the mystery of godliness. Oh, sounds to me like another phrase to mystify, well, we're having a cold snap. I don't know what your experience of theology and religion has been. One of the real blessings, and I didn't understand it at the time, that I had when I was very young, was that we had one of the elders in our church who was a musician, was an accordion player, an extraordinary accordion player, who, if I'm honest, was not linguistically the strongest. We were living in South Wales, and he didn't really speak Welsh. At least people that speak Welsh say he didn't really speak Welsh with any great finesse, and he didn't really speak English with any great finesse either. But there was a simplicity and a clarity to how he viewed living like God. Just be like Jesus. Now, don't get me wrong. That might still be a tall order. It is a marvelous, an excellent, a preeminent, a wonderful thing. But the example that Jesus gives us is that it is possible by the same Spirit that was in him. He says to his followers, he says, look, I'm not going to leave you to do this on your own. I'm going to send you my Spirit who's going to dwell within you. And the same Spirit by which I do all these remarkable things is the Spirit who's going to do it in you, for you, with you. You know, complex language, arcane theological terms can sometimes leave us feeling like, well, how could we ever even understand this? How could we grasp this? But I believe that God wanted to make absolutely everything clear to us by showing it to us in the simplicity of a life lived like one of us. You know, Jesus said to his followers, anyone who wants to follow me, anyone who wants to see the kingdom, anyone who wants to understand what I'm doing, they need to come like a child. He didn't mean they need to be childish in their behavior. What he meant was they need to be childlike in their trust, in their joy, to come with the simplicity of it. One of the quite scary things about having a 1-year-old is that he is watching all the time to see what I do, what his mother does, and to copy or mimic it. As a result, he's not that keen on waving at people that he sees, but he likes sticking his tongue out at them. It's something which may get us into a little bit of trouble when we're no longer in full shielding, but it's kind of cute when he does it on a video conference. And so when he sees someone doing something, he looks at it and he goes, oh, I'll do that as well then. Tonight, if you've been all caught up in theology, if you've found yourself thinking, well, how could I ever be someone who was holy or who lived a life of godliness? Let me break it down for you. Jesus doesn't come to be an impossible, unattainable goal. He doesn't come to be an example that leaves us feeling defeated. But rather, he came and lived just like one of us, went through what we go through, endured what we put up with. He did it perfectly. And then he said, anyone who wants to do it too, I'm going to give you my Spirit. I'm going to put my mind in you so that you're able to think my thoughts. You're able to hear what my Father is saying. You're able to know, just know, because the Spirit in you is going to lead you into it, exactly what to do, how to do it, when to do it, with the simplicity of a child who just as well, if Jesus does it, I can. If he loves them, I can. If he welcomes them, I can. If he speaks peace to them, I can. If he can show them hope, I can. If he can comfort them, I can. If he can meet their need, I can. Because the same power that was at work in him, even that resurrection power, is going to be at work in me. I just trust him. Tonight, this is just the most practical thing probably that I've ever shared in one of these sessions. Everybody knows. Paul writes to his young friend Timothy, everybody knows how marvelous the pattern of a holy life is, because they saw Jesus do it, so they know what to do. There's a lot of talk these days where people talk about, oh, well, this one's a Christian, or that one's a Christian, or this is what Christianity is, or that's what Christianity is. The heart of the word Christian is actually, the Greeks use it as an insult, because they couldn't understand why anyone would choose to be like someone who had willingly gone to a cross. And so it literally means little Christ. No, I'm not of his strength or his scale or his power in myself. I'm not. He's the Ancient of Days. I'm just barely moments old by comparison. But his promise to me is that he won't send me out to live this life on my own, but he will give me his Holy Spirit to make it possible. The same is absolutely true for you. If you'll just trust him, if you'll just trust him. The word Christian doesn't mean that you adhere to some lengthy theological statement. It doesn't mean that you have discovered all of the ancient wisdom that's contained within the writings that we call the Bible. It doesn't mean that you have come to some great discovery of all of the internal workings of your psyche. None of that. It means this: God, I want to be like Jesus. He showed me how to live, and he's promised that he'll help me live just like him. The wonderful thing is this: that if you're sat there and you're thinking, well, how does that work? And surely it's got to be harder than that, and I couldn't possibly do it. He said, ever since he gave us those promises, thousands upon thousands of people, millions right now all over the planet, are living that life, because it is the most marvelous, the most extraordinary mystery. Have a great week. If you want to get in touch with us, you can find out how to do it below. And we're always ready and willing to pray with you. We believe that God has great things for anybody who just puts their trust in him. We'll hopefully see you next Sunday night. God bless. Bye.